Hello ladies and germs, Dave Mayo here from HackYourGut.com, and today we're going to talk about what postbiotics are and how they can improve your gut health, where they fit into the whole system. So before we kind of jump into this, we have to talk about a few other things. We have to talk about probiotics, prebiotics, synbiotics, and then that can kind of get us into the direction of understanding what a postbiotic is. So a probiotic, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, is effectively a microorganism that when introduced into a host provides a biological benefit. So you're probably familiar with lactobacillus, bifidobacteria, bacillus, there's various yeasts such as Saccharomyces, and so these are probiotics. You're probably familiar with probiotics in terms of supplemental probiotics that come in pill form. You consume these things and they provide some level of benefit to the host. So what are the pros and cons of a probiotic? So the benefit of using a supplemental probiotic, is that you're introducing the organism into the system. Unfortunately, they typically don't survive, and the ones that do, very few do. So what ends up happening is you're basically introducing these organisms into the system. They have some enzymes and things of that nature, and different nutrients that they use within their cell walls. We break them down and release these things into our body. And to some extent, some of these probiotics do take up residence in our gut, but based on most of the data, it's not a whole lot of them. So the pros with using those is you're getting a set amount of whatever you're using. You can use one strain, multiple strains, which is what most things are, and you can use targeted strains to kind of address specific conditions. So you have a lot more control using a probiotic than if you were to use something like a probiotic food. Now, prebiotics are effectively what probiotics eat. Things like fiber, polyphenols, things of that nature. And so when you're taking a prebiotic supplement, what you're doing is you're giving your gut the foods that these probiotics consumes, the kind of purpose of which is you're trying to attract them into your gut. Now the prebiotics, again, same pros as probiotics. You're putting in a set dose of a very specific thing, and hopefully that can provide some benefit to your gut health. Now, synbiotics are effectively a combination of both. They're a probiotic with a prebiotic. And the benefits of this are that it is hoped that they provide a survival benefit. So if you give a probiotic with a prebiotic, more of the probiotics will survive and populate in the gut. Which brings us to postbiotics. When a probiotic, the microorganism, consumes a prebiotic, its food, they tend to create hundreds, if not thousands, of molecules that provide a benefit to us. Things like short-chain fatty acids, such as butyrate, propionate or acetate. Urolithin A is another sort of postbiotic. And I mean, we're talking a lot of things. When they do vitamin biosynthesis and vitamin metabolism, they can convert vitamins into different forms that may be more or less bioavailable to us. And a lot of postbiotics will also communicate with our mitochondria, and some, such as the short-chain fatty acids, get absorbed into our bodies and exert effects elsewhere. Now, the cool thing about postbiotics is that you are giving very specifically what is supposed to provide a therapeutic benefit, much like using a single probiotic or using a prebiotic. And you're hoping to exert a beneficial effect, much like you would do with a pharmaceutical drug. Now, the problem with all of these things, the data just isn't great. There are some probiotics where we've seen benefit. There are prebiotics where we've seen some benefit, such as inulin. And there are some postbiotics with some decent evidence behind them, such as butyrate. The problem is, normally in animal models, what human data we have is effectively, with a handful or maybe a couple of dozen people, and that's just not good science. I have kind of a way of going about things where don't hold strong opinions on things with low or weak evidence, and I think that that's where postbiotics are. I do think things like tributrin, which is a form of butyrate, they do have promise. The problem is they're not precisely what you're looking for. What we're looking for in terms of short-chain fatty acids is we want them released in our colonic microbiome, and that's not really what's happening when you take a supplemental form. Some of it's getting absorbed. Of course, supplement companies will say that they are getting there, but they really don't test, and there's not robust testing to prove that that's happening. And the other thing is, yes, the postbiotic is beneficial, but generally speaking, A single probiotic may secrete dozens or hundreds or thousands of beneficial molecules. Some of the molecules that they secrete may attract other probiotic organisms that will create synergistic compounds that also promote health. And then, of course, when you're consuming foods that have prebiotics or prebiotic supplements, that is what they use to create these postbiotics. And this is really the system that we want. We've seen data looking at the differences between consuming fiber and probiotics. That has actually shown that consuming more fiber actually has a more beneficial effect on the immune system than taking a probiotic supplement. And we've seen studies where consuming probiotic foods is better than consuming a prebiotic fiber such as inulin. And the reasoning behind that is consuming probiotic foods typically has more microorganisms that are creating more things. And so when we kind of look at these postbiotics, really same with probiotics and prebiotics, we're looking at something that should be used therapeutically to solve a problem that you may have. But what we're really looking for overall, if we're trying to optimize our gut health, is we're trying to eat more probiotic foods, consume more prebiotic foods that contain fiber, polyphenols, and things of that nature. And we really want to take these supplements more as a therapeutic approach to treat a specific condition. Ultimately, the best, most beneficial effects from these things are that you have control in terms of the dosing, you have control over the specific prebiotic or probiotic that you're using. That way, if perhaps a microorganism, they may make multiple different postbiotics, but some of those might be bad for you. So you could use them really to improve your gut health if it's in a pathological state. But once you get it beyond that pathological state, you really don't want to be relying on any of these supplements in general in the first place. So really what we're looking at with pre, syn, and postbiotics are therapeutic approaches to treat very specific conditions so that you can then tolerate foods that may release, hundreds or thousands of molecules that might benefit your health. So that sums it up. If you have any questions, post them below. If you like this video and want more, share on social media or give us a like. If you have any constructive criticism, I would also love to hear that in the comment section. So thank you very much for listening in. Take care.